Thank you. Our second presentation of the day will be centered around West Africa real estate market update. And this will be presented by someone who is an expert in West African real estate market and is also an ardent student of the international real estate markets. Please let's make welcome Tayo Odusi, Chief Executive Officer of North Court Real Estate. A round of applause for Tayo, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to the panelists and Tola for a very great panel, very insightful. Can I get my slide up, please? Okay, so my presentation this morning is on the attractiveness of West Africa real estate markets. So I did this presentation for the first time last year at Wapi, and it was based off on a framework that was created by two researchers, Franz Leiser and Alan Groh. It's essentially a framework that puts together six aspects that inform the attractiveness of any real estate market, and they've applied this in Europe, in America, and I guess I'm one of the first people applying this in an African context. Just to sound a note of warning, when I finished the presentation last year, it was very insightful, very useful, but many people agreed that it might be a little bit more theoretical than showing what the reality is. But we also all agreed that the usefulness of the data and the usefulness of seeing the comparative performance of the various markets, gave everyone in the room something to think about. So with that note of warning out of the way, just going to move on to, can I just show my content page? Yes, great. All right. Is it possible to just see one slide at a time? Okay, so there are six essential things that this framework considers in looking at the attractiveness of a market. It looks at the economic activity, it looks at the investment opportunities, it looks at depth of capital, it looks at investor protection and legal framework, the administrative burdens and regulatory limitations, and then it looks at the socio-cultural and political environment. All this takes data from different sources, such as the World Bank, the United Nations, the bureaus of statistics of the individual countries, and it's put together. It's a mixed bag, of all this data, and then it spills out at the end, their performance based on all these parameters. Can I get the first, next slide, please? Okay, so this is, the first set of parameters, right? Looking at the economic size and the GDP data. Obviously, Nigeria dwarfs all the other countries that we selected. I think we have about 10 key markets that we focused on. Biggest markets being Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and just putting together all their performance, and looking at how they perform. This essentially shows the economic size and GDP per capita. Can I get next slide? And this shows all their real GDP growth and inflation rates. So this is essentially how the framework works. It takes all the various data points for all the countries, looking at those six parameters: the economic activity, investment opportunities, depth of capital, investor protection, administrative burdens, and social, cultural, and political environment, for all these countries, and it ranks them based on how they perform. So having seen how this works, can we skip very quickly to the results, which is on slide 33? If you can just quickly move down there, so that we get straight into the results. The slides will be made available to you so that you can see all the various charts for, all the various data points. Okay, so I think I can move this. I'll just take it to the slide myself. Okay, so we're almost at the results. So we're looking at this, 6 parameters. And first off, results for economic activity. So for economic activity, as we can see, Cote d'Ivoire comes top, right? It ranked number 1, and Senegal ranked number 2, while Nigeria ranked number 3. Now, one of the feedback that we got last year when we did this presentation is, should these parameters be equally weighted? Right, after that conference, I shot an email, to the authors, and I got a response, but essentially defending the position that all the various parameters should be equally weighted. In a room like this, filled with professionals, who you saw the panel, sitting here. The questions were primarily about, yields, and economic performance, capital appreciation. That was the bane of the conversation. That to many investors is the bane of real estate attractiveness. Economic activity, the performance, of the asset in terms of yields and return, from an investor's perspective, should be skewed heavily, in any framework that is looking at attractiveness. But obviously the authors have seemed to use all the parameters, in equal weights, and that's what we've just done here. So again, for economic performance, Cote d'Ivoire comes first. All right. This is not great that the top isn't showing, but the next is real estate investment performance, and under this we're looking at things like, the quality of the assets, the availability of infrastructure, and all of that. And for this, the Gambia comes first. Surprise, surprise. Senegal comes second, and Cote d'Ivoire comes third. Nigeria comes fourth. For capital market performance, and the ability for real estate, to raise money from the capital markets, the availability of long-term capital and stuff like that. Senegal comes first, Nigeria comes second, and the Gambia comes third. For investor protection and legal framework performance, Senegal comes first, the Gambia comes second, and Nigeria comes third. All right. And for administrative and regulatory performance, Mauritania comes first. No surprises there for those of us that, have business in Mauritania from an administrative and regulatory perspective. Liberia comes second, and Senegal comes third. It will interest you to see that Nigeria comes 8th in this regard, and Ghana comes 9th in an administrative and regulatory performance perspective. And finally, for social, cultural, and political performance, Senegal comes top, Ghana comes second, and Mauritania comes third. All right. Any thoughts on who comes first in aggregate? Anybody wants to guess who comes top? Aggregate. Anyone? Just spew out one country. Senegal. Okay, someone say Senegal. Cote d'Ivoire. What? The Gambia. Let's see the results. If the clicker can work, or you can just move it to the next. It's good to thank you. Okay, so I think you're using my wrong slide, which doesn't have the aggregate score. So if you can quickly take that down and put up the right slide, which has the aggregate score. Who said Côte d'Ivoire? You said Côte d'Ivoire. Dami, you said Côte d'Ivoire as well. Who else said Côte d'Ivoire? Timmy said Côte d'Ivoire. Timmy, Dami, you're my friends, but I'm pleased to let you know that you're both wrong. Lady sitting behind me, you said the Gambia, right? You know, ordinarily, because you are behind me, I would have wanted you to be right. But sadly, you are wrong. The Gambia comes in second. Okay? Who said Senegal? You see, that guy is a researcher. Who else says Senegal? He says Senegal. The hands are going for Senegal now. You know, Senegal came tops. All right, and Côte d'Ivoire came in fourth. Nigeria came in fifth. Mauritania sixth. Mali eighth. Liberia ninth. Benin seventh. And with that, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Tayo. Can we applaud him for a very engaging presentation? Thank you.